The Eurasian steppe stretched endlessly, a vast ocean of grass from the Black Sea to Mongolia, wild and untamed, ruled by horse and bow, where legends of warrior women Amazons lived not in myth, but in blood and bone. For centuries, the stories of Amazons were dismissed as fantasy exotic tales of distant lands and fierce women. Yet, beneath mounds called kurgans, archaeology uncovered truth. Women warriors buried with weapons and scars of battle. These women were part of the nomadic tribes known for their deadly skill on horseback, their lives a whirlwind of raids, survival, and freedom that defied the rigid norms of ancient civilizations. The steppe was a harsh land. Endless winds swept grasslands where survival meant riding fast, shooting true, and fighting with courage. Here, women trained from childhood to master horse and bow as fiercely as men. In graves scattered across the steppe, archaeologists found female skeletons buried with iron swords and quivers filled with arrows-proof. These were no ordinary women, but warriors who fought and died in battle. Herodotus told tales of Amazons battling Greek soldiers, women who rode alongside men and fought with unmatched bravery. What was once myth slowly became undeniable history, reshaping ancient gender roles. These women wore practical trousers and leather armor suited for the rigors of horseback warfare. Their hair was braided tightly, ready for combat. Their faces sometimes painted with ochre and red pigments, invoking both fear and respect. They mastered the Parthian shot, firing arrows while retreating at full gallop, a tactic that bewildered enemies and turned flight into attack, showcasing extraordinary skill and agility. Their weapons were carefully crafted, composite bows of wood and sinew, sharp iron swords called ak, and barbed arrows designed to inflict maximum damage, blending artistry with deadly efficiency. Steppe women were not exceptions but a significant force. Many held leadership roles, leading war parties and influencing decisions roles that challenged the patriarchal norms of other contemporary societies. The tribe was their family and battlefield. Women raised children amidst the thunder of hooves and the clash of steel, teaching them to ride and fight, passing on a legacy of strength and survival in a dangerous world. Unlike in many ancient societies, these women were free to fight, to lead, and to live boldly under the open sky where the horizons stretched endlessly beyond control or confinement. Their stories survive not only in bones and weapons, but also in the legends of many cultures, inspiring tales of fierce independence, courage, and the refusal to be silenced or subdued. Their legacy continues to challenge modern assumptions about gender, power, and the roles women played in shaping human history, especially in the fierce, untamed world of the steppe. Each grave, each artifact uncovered, adds to a growing picture of a world where women stood as equals in war and life, their voices and actions echoing across millennia. The steppe was not just a land of survival, it was a land of freedom where warrior women claimed their place in history. Their lives are testament to resilience, skill, and unyielding spirit. Their presence in history reminds us that myths often contain truths waiting to be rediscovered and honored, rewriting the stories we thought we knew about the ancient world. The story of the warrior women of the steppe is one of courage, freedom, and defiance of lives lived fiercely, against all odds, beneath endless skies and wild winds. The endless steppe was a demanding school where children learned survival early. Scythian girls were raised as warriors, their days filled with horseback riding, archery practice, and lessons in endurance. From infancy, girls were taught balance atop wild horses, mastering the art of riding without saddles. This skill was essential for hunting, combat, and navigating the vast grasslands that defined their world. Archery was a sacred discipline, passed down through generations. Girls practiced releasing arrows with unerring accuracy while galloping at full speed, their aim honed by necessity and tradition. Life on the steppe demanded constant motion. Girls raced alongside boys, learning to track game, read the clouds, and interpret signs from nature that warned of approaching danger or changing seasons. Family and tribe were inseparable. Girls grew up hearing stories of women warriors and leaders, inspiring them to embrace their roles as defenders and guides within their clans. Unlike many ancient cultures, Scythian society valued skill over gender. Girls could own property, inherit status, and earn respect through their deeds, forging identities independent of male dominance. The brutal climate forged resilience. Winters brought biting cold, summers violent storms. Survival depended on strength and adaptability, traits cultivated in girls through rigorous training and experience. Girls learned to use knives, spears, and swords, practicing combat maneuvers alongside boys. Their education was comprehensive, preparing them to face threats both human and wild. Horse and rider became one. Girls communicated with their mounts through subtle cues, understanding moods and movements essential for survival and combat effectiveness. Clothing was practical leather trousers and boots suited for riding, designed to protect against thorns, cold, and injury, enabling freedom of movement during battle or hunt. Tattooing was a rite of passage. Girls received marks, symbolizing clan allegiance, personal achievements, and spiritual protection, binding them to their community and ancestors. Education was experiential. Elders shared knowledge of herbal remedies, spiritual rites, and the oral histories that shaped Scythian identity, ensuring girls carried the tribe's wisdom. Girls witnessed and learned from women who led raids and negotiations, seeing firsthand that power and leadership were attainable through courage and skill. Childhood was harsh but empowering. Girls developed physical strength and mental toughness, essential traits in a world where weakness meant death or enslavement. The steppes' vastness bred independence. Girls roamed widely, learning to navigate by stars, rivers, and landmarks, building a keen sense of direction and situational awareness. Their training included hunting wolves and other predators, teaching stealth, patience, and the deadly precision needed to survive against fierce opponents. Many girls grew into women who commanded war parties, negotiated alliances, and wielded influence within their tribes, embodying the warrior ethos from youth. This culture blurred gender lines. Strength and leadership belonged to those who earned it, regardless of sex or radical difference from settled, patriarchal societies of the era. Their lives were not just about survival, but about thriving in an environment that demanded mastery over horse, weapon, and will. The legacy of these warrior girls lives on in archaeological finds, ancient texts, and the spirit of a people who honored skill and courage above all else. The steppe women wielded weapons with lethal grace bows of layered wood and sinew, arrows sharp and silent, curved swords gleaming under endless skies. Their arsenal was crafted for speed, power, and deadly precision. Composite bows, strong yet flexible, were their signature. Made from wood, horn, and sinew, these weapons could launch arrows with great force, piercing armor and striking fear into their enemies from horseback at full gallop. Their arrows were tipped with flint or iron, barbed to inflict fatal wounds. Quivers were always close at hand, filled with a deadly rain of missiles ready to unleash upon foes before closing for hand-to-hand combat. Curved swords, known as akinaks, were ideal for swift, brutal strikes from horseback. Lightweight and razor, these swords allowed women to slash through armor and defend themselves in close quarters with fierce skill. Spears and daggers supplemented their arsenal. Spears could be thrown or used for thrusting, while daggers were silent weapons for close encounters. Each tool was designed for the speed and fluidity of steppe warfare. Armor was light leather and scale, favoring mobility over heavy protection. This allowed steppe warriors to ride fast, dodge attacks, and outmaneuver enemies on open plains where speed meant survival. Shields were rare. The open landscape demanded agility rather than heavy defense. Their fighting style emphasized rapid attack, retreat, and deception, striking fear into those who underestimated their power. Warbands, small and highly mobile, struck with lightning speed. These groups could encircle enemies, target vulnerable flanks, and disappear before retaliation, relying on tactics that prioritized surprise and skill. Psychological warfare played a role. Painted faces, fierce war cries, and the sight of women warriors riding into battle terrified enemies and fueled the myth of the invincible Amazons. Some women rose to command war parties, leading raids and shaping political alliances. Their authority was earned on the battlefield and respected in councils, showcasing the vital role of women in steppe warfare. Weapons were more than tools. They symbolized freedom and power. Carrying a bow or sword declared a woman's place as warrior and leader, challenging societal norms across Eurasia. Training was relentless. Women honed archery, swordsmanship, and horsemanship from childhood. Their skills sharpened through constant practice, battle, and survival. Archaeological evidence confirms this martial culture. Female graves containing weapons, armor sized for women, and skeletons bearing battle injuries tell of lives spent in combat. Steppe women fought not just for survival but for honor, family, and the fierce independence their nomadic life demanded, their courage echoing across centuries. Their weaponry and tactics reshaped ancient warfare, proving that skill and spirit mattered more than gender, and leaving a legacy still inspiring warriors today. Warrior women were only part of the story. Steppe women also managed households, cared for children, and tended livestock, ensuring survival through relentless seasons and harsh conditions. Many were skilled healers, using knowledge of herbs and spiritual rituals to treat wounds and illnesses, bridging the gap between life, death, and the unseen forces shaping their world. Women played key roles in trade and diplomacy, negotiating alliances and exchanging goods with neighboring tribes, helping maintain peace and prosperity beyond the battlefield's reach. In tribal councils, women's voices carried weight. Leadership was earned through wisdom, courage, and experience, with women influencing decisions that shaped tribal futures. Marriage was a partnership. Women held property rights, could divorce and remarry freely, reflecting a society where autonomy and survival shaped gender roles. Motherhood and warriorhood intertwined as women raised children to ride, hunt, and fight, passing down the fierce values of steppe life to new generations. Tattoos and ornaments told stories of achievement and clan identity, connecting individuals to ancestors in the spiritual world. Women served as shamans, mediating between tribe and spirit world. Their spiritual authority was essential for social cohesion and survival. Life was brutal. Winters froze, rivers solid, summers brought storms. Women endured alongside men, traveling great distances and defending their people with resilience. Strength was found not just in battle but in daily survival. Women's adaptability and grit were crucial to the tribe's endurance in the unforgiving steppe. Steppe society blurred gender lines, valuing skill and courage over rigid roles. Women were warriors and nurturers, leaders and caretakers, embodying balance and strength. Archaeological finds reveal women buried with weapons and tools, evidence of their multifaceted status and respect in life and death. Some women became chieftains or war leaders, commanding respect and wielding influence in politics and warfare. Their lives challenged modern assumptions about ancient gender norms, showing a culture where power was practical and earned by ability. The legacy of steppe women is one of resilience, courage, and breaking boundaries imposed by other cultures and times. They were real figures whose influence shaped centuries of history across Eurasia, inspiring legends of fierce independence and strength. The steppe's burial mounds, or kurgans, are silent storytellers, holding secrets of warrior women buried with honor, weapons, and symbols that reveal their lives, status, and the fierce respect they commanded in death. Within these mounds, archaeologists find graves of women interred with swords, bows, quivers, and armor, artifacts signaling their warrior roles, challenging traditional notions that ancient women were passive or domestic. Some graves include horses, buried alongside their riders, signifying the close bond between warrior women and their mounts, essential partners in life and battle across the open grasslands. The careful placement of weapons and personal items reflects ritual respect and recognition of the deceased's power, suggesting these women were celebrated leaders, not hidden exceptions. Ornate jewelry and clothing remnants found in graves indicate social status and personal identity, showing that these women held positions of wealth and influence within their tribes. Certain burial sites revealed traces of ritual sacrifice, including animals or servants, underscoring the spiritual significance of the warrior's death and the tribe's attempt to honor their legacy. The positioning of graves often aligns with celestial bodies or landscape features, indicating the steppe people's deep connection to nature and the cosmos in their funerary customs. Tattoos preserved on mummified remains provide further insight into identity, status, and spiritual beliefs, marking these women as bearers of tradition and protectors of their people. The grave goods tell stories beyond warfare. Mirrors, combs, and vessels suggest roles in daily life, ritual, and ceremony, highlighting the multifaceted lives of these women. These burial customs differ sharply from many settled societies, where women's roles were confined and less publicly honored, reflecting the unique social fabric of steppe culture. The grandeur of these burials contradicts myths of women warriors as anomalies. Instead, they were integral members of their societies, deserving of honor equal to men. Through these graves, voices from the past speak clearly. These women lived fully as warriors, leaders, and members of vibrant tribal communities. Their burials also illustrate how death was a passage, with rituals designed to secure safe journeys to the afterlife, ensuring that their power endured beyond mortal life. Archaeologists study these mounds carefully, uncovering clues that rewrite history, confirming the presence and prominence of warrior women across the steppe. The sheer number of such graves indicates a widespread acceptance of female warriors, rather than isolated incidents or mythic exaggerations. In some cases, mass graves suggest these women died in battle alongside male warriors, further evidence of their frontline participation in warfare. The preserved bones often show healed injuries, signs of long, hard lives spent in conflict. Not fleeting roles, but sustained warrior careers. Weapons found include finely crafted swords, daggers, and arrowheads, all meticulously maintained, indicating pride in their martial skills and readiness. The grave's rich adornments showed these women were more than fighters. They were respected figures of authority and spiritual significance. Burial sites serve as cultural time capsules, revealing the beliefs, values, and social structures that elevated warrior women in steppe society. The ritual complexity surrounding these burials reflects a worldview where gender was fluid and power was measured by action and skill. Each excavation adds to the growing understanding of a society where women shaped history through both battle and leadership. These findings challenge modern stereotypes and expand our knowledge of ancient Eurasian cultures and gender dynamics. The warrior women's graves tell a story of honor, courage, and cultural importance, preserved beneath the steppe's vast skies. They reveal how the steppe peoples honored strength and leadership in all its forms, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire. The fierce warrior women of the steppe left marks far beyond their lands, their legends traveling through time, inspiring myths and stories in distant civilizations that shaped how we remember them today. Greek historians like Herodotus told tales of the Amazons' formidable women warriors living beyond the known world, riding horses, wielding bows, and challenging Greek heroes, blurring the line between myth and reality. These stories fascinated and terrified, painting warrior women as both noble and savage, embodying the mystery of a wild, untamed world where women held power equal to men. The Amazons became symbols of freedom and defiance, inspiring countless works of art, literature, and folklore. From ancient Greek pottery to Renaissance paintings and modern novels, steppe women's real history and myth intertwine. Their deeds transformed into epic tales that echoed in cultural memory, sometimes obscuring but never erasing their true legacy. Across Eurasia, stories of female warriors appear in diverse cultures, the Sarmatians, and later the Huns and Mongols, showing a continuum of women's martial roles on the vast grasslands. In Central Asia, oral traditions recall fierce women leaders who fought bravely alongside men, preserving the spirit of their ancestors and shaping tribal identities for generations. The legend of the Amazons influenced neighboring peoples, including the Persians and Romans, who both feared and respected these warrior societies on their frontiers. Art and literature often depicted Amazons in battle, their images blending beauty and ferocity, reflecting cultural fascination with women who broke norms and wielded power. Some myths described Amazons as invincible, living in matriarchal societies where men were secondary, stories that reveal ancient societies' struggles to comprehend powerful women. Despite exaggerations, these myths preserved kernels of truth about the steppe women's real influence, bravery, and skill, keeping their memory alive across centuries. The legacy of warrior women challenges simplistic views of ancient gender roles, highlighting a complex tapestry of power, culture, and identity. In modern times, scholars and feminists reclaim the story of the Amazons, recognizing them as historical figures who embodied resilience and leadership in a male-dominated world. Their legacy appears in popular culture, inspiring films, books, and art that celebrate strength, independence, and the fight for equality. Archaeological discoveries support these stories, grounding myth in evidence and reshaping how history remembers women in war and leadership. The warrior women's impact extends beyond battlefields, influencing social structures, spiritual practices, and cultural narratives throughout Eurasia. Their stories remind us that history is layered, and myths often carry truths waiting to be rediscovered and honored anew. Through legend and fact, the steppe women's echoes continue to inspire courage, defiance, and the pursuit of freedom across cultures and generations. They teach us that power is not confined by gender, but forged in spirit, skill, and the will to survive and lead. From ancient tombs to modern imagination, the warrior women's legacy rides the winds, a timeless symbol of strength and resilience. Their voices, once buried under centuries of silence, now rise loud and clear, demanding recognition and respect. The steppe was their home, the horse their companion, and the bow their voice, a world where women stood unbowed, fearless, and free. Their story invites us to challenge assumptions, embrace complexity, and celebrate the diversity of human history. In remembering them, we honor not only their courage, but the rich cultures they shaped and the enduring human spirit they embody. The warrior women of the steppe remain a beacon of empowerment, resilience, and unyielding strength that transcends time and place. Life on the steppe was a constant balance between war and daily survival. Warrior women managed tents, cared for livestock, and prepared food, all while training in combat and horsemanship to protect their families and tribes. Their days began before dawn, tending animals and repairing gear, ensuring everything was ready for travel or battle. These tasks required strength, endurance, and an intimate knowledge of the land and seasons. Women maintained tents, called vital shelters that could be packed and moved quickly, reflecting the nomadic lifestyle. Setting up and breaking down camp was a communal effort, where everyone's role was crucial. Preparing food was another essential duty. Women processed meat from hunts, gathered herbs, and made fermented dairy products staples of the steppe diet that provided nutrition and energy for warriors. Amid these chores, they trained rigorously, practicing archery, swordsmanship, and horse riding daily. Their skills were honed through repetition, preparing them for the chaos of battle at any moment. Children learned by watching and participating from an early age. Mothers taught survival skills alongside nurturing, blending warrior toughness with care and guidance. Women crafted clothing and weapons, skills passed down through generations. Leatherworking, sewing, and bow making were specialized arts integral to their warrior identity. Spiritual life was woven into daily routines. Women participated in rituals and ceremonies, honoring ancestors and seeking protection from spirits before battles or journeys. The harsh climate demanded resilience. Winter winds, scorching summers, and endless dust-tested endurance, shaping the hardiness that defined steppe life. Community bonds were strong. Women shared stories, songs, and dances that preserved history, culture, and the collective memory of their people. Despite constant movement and danger, moments of joy and celebration punctuated life. Festivals, marriages, and rites of passage were occasions to strengthen social ties. Healing and medicine were crucial. Women's knowledge of herbs and remedies saved lives and maintained the tribe's health amid harsh conditions and injuries. Their lives were a seamless blend of domestic duties and martial readiness, reflecting a culture where survival depended on every member's contribution. Steppe warrior women exemplified versatility, nurturers and fighters, homemakers and strategist, roles inseparable in their world. Their endurance, skill, and wisdom allowed them to thrive in an environment that demanded strength beyond the battlefield. The daily rhythm of life reinforced a deep connection to nature, community, and tradition, essential for sustaining the nomadic lifestyle. Women's leadership extended beyond war, influencing education, culture, and tribal governance. Their stories, often passed down orally, celebrated the courage and resilience of women who balanced many roles with grace and power. This multifaceted life challenges narrow perceptions of ancient women, revealing a society where gender roles were fluid and survival was collective. The steppe was more than a battleground. It was a sacred realm where spirits of ancestors and nature guided daily life. Warrior women often served as shamans, bridging worlds between the living and the spiritual forces that shaped their fate. Shamanism was central to steppe culture. Shamans, many of them women, performed rituals to heal, protect, and communicate with spirits, ensuring harmony between humans, animals, and nature. Through trance, song, and dance, these women entered altered states to seek guidance, divine future events, or invoke protection before battles, blending spirituality with survival. Sacred animals like the eagle, wolf, and horse symbolized power and connection to the divine. Tattoos and clothing often bore these symbols, representing spiritual strength and tribal identity. Women shamans wielded ritual objects, drums, bones, and talismans, tools believed to channel spiritual energy, protect warriors, and bring fortune to their people. Their role was both respected and feared. Shamans mediated conflicts, interpreted omens, and led ceremonies that reinforced social bonds and tribal unity. Healing was a sacred art, using herbs, chants, and spiritual rituals. Women shamans treated wounds and illnesses, vital for a community constantly exposed to dangers. The connection to the land and sky shaped spiritual beliefs. Steppe people revered celestial bodies, natural landmarks, and seasonal cycles as manifestations of divine forces. Women's spiritual authority extended beyond healing and prophecy. They influenced decisions about war, peace, and migration, guiding the tribe through uncertainty. Spiritual rituals often coincided with key life events, marriage, death-marking transitions, with ceremonies that honored both ancestors and nature. Burial customs reflected shamanic beliefs, with grave goods and animal sacrifices intended to secure safe passage and continued power in the afterlife. The sacred and the martial were intertwined. Women warriors carried spiritual protection into battle, believing their courage was strengthened by ancestral spirits. Shamanic practices helped warriors cope with fear and loss, offering hope and meaning amid the brutality of nomadic life. Women's roles as spiritual leaders challenged patriarchal structures, granting them power beyond physical combat, rooted in the unseen world. Stories and songs preserve the wisdom of shamans, passed down orally to sustain cultural identity across generations. Their spiritual insights shaped tribal laws, social norms, and relations with other tribes, ensuring cohesion and survival. The blend of warrior strength and spiritual depth created a holistic vision of power unique to steppe culture. This sacred dimension elevated women's status, reflecting a society where power was multifaceted, balancing force with wisdom. Today, archaeological finds of ritual objects and symbols shed light on these ancient practices, revealing the deep spirituality behind the warrior women's lives. Their legacy reminds us that power is not only physical but also spiritual, a connection that gave meaning to their fierce existence. The era of the steppe warrior women gradually faded as empires expanded and cultures shifted, reshaping the vast grasslands and the fierce nomadic societies that once thrived there. The rise of powerful states like Persia and Macedonia brought new military, technologies, and political systems that challenged the traditional nomadic way of life on the steppe. Sedentarization forced many tribes to abandon nomadic customs, diminishing the role of women warriors as warfare became more centralized and controlled by maledom. The spread of new religions, including Zoroastrianism and later Christianity, introduced different gender norms and social structures that often restricted women's public and martial roles. Despite decline, the memory of warrior women persisted in myths and legends, inspiring folklore that kept their spirit alive long after their physical presence waned. Some tribes adapted, integrating women's martial traditions into emerging warrior classes, while others saw these roles erode under external pressures and cultural assimilation. Archaeological evidence shows a decrease in female warrior graves during this period, signaling a societal shift away from the inclusive martial culture of earlier centuries. The steppe's political landscape transformed into kingdoms and empires, with centralized armies less reliant on individual warrior prowess and more on organized forces. Women's roles became more domestic and ceremonial, though some continued to wield power behind the scenes as advisors or regents in patriarchal courts. The romanticized image of the Amazon persisted in classical art and literature, preserving a powerful but idealized vision of the steppe warrior women. This transformation reflects broader global patterns where nomadic societies were absorbed or displaced by expanding empires and state-controlled militaries. Yet, echoes of the steppe Amazons influenced later groups, like the Huns and Mongols, where women again took up arms and leadership roles in times of crisis. Their legacy also shaped cultural perceptions of female strength and independence across Eurasia, leaving marks on folklore, art, and historical memory. Modern scholarship continues to uncover the complexities of these women's lives, challenging simplistic narratives of decline and disappearance. The story of the steppe Amazons is not one of erasure, but evolution and enduring influence adapting to changing worlds. Their courage and independence inspire contemporary movements, reclaiming histories of women warriors and leaders. The transition period highlights the resilience of these traditions, even in the face of cultural upheaval and conquest. Understanding this transformation provides insight into the dynamic nature of gender, power, and culture in ancient Eurasia. In recent decades, archaeology and scholarship have revived the story of the steppe warrior women, unveiling truths long buried beneath myths and silence. Excavations of kurgans have revealed skeletons of women buried with weapons, armor, and artifacts once thought to belong only to men, challenging entrenched historical narratives. These discoveries have transformed our understanding of ancient societies, showing that women's roles were complex, vital, and often equal to men's in many cultures. Historians, anthropologists, and feminist scholars now celebrate these warrior women as pioneers of gender equality, resilience, and leadership in harsh environments. Museums around the world exhibit artifacts from female warrior graves, educating the public and inspiring new interest in forgotten histories. The warrior women of the steppe had become symbols of empowerment, featured in books, films, and art, inspiring contemporary conversations about gender and power. Modern parallels are drawn between these ancient women and today's movements advocating for women's rights, leadership, and recognition in all fields. The rediscovery also challenges stereotypes of nomadic peoples as uncivilized, revealing sophisticated societies with rich cultural, spiritual, and social lives. Academic debates continue to explore the extent and nature of women's martial roles, emphasizing diversity and rejecting one-size-fits-all interpretations. Digital technology, DNA analysis, and advanced dating methods deepen our knowledge, painting detailed pictures of these women's lives and societies. These findings emphasize that history is not static, but an evolving narrative shaped by new evidence and perspectives. Public fascination with Amazons and steppe warriors fuels ongoing research and storytelling, keeping their legacy alive and relevant. The cultural impact extends beyond academia, influencing fashion, gaming, and popular media with depictions of fierce, skilled female warriors. Their stories encourage re-evaluation of gender norms, both past and present, inspiring broader discussions about equality and inclusion. The steppe warrior women remind us that power and leadership come in many forms, often hidden in overlooked histories. They challenge us to question biases and expand our understanding of human potential, past and future. In honoring their legacy, we recognize the strength, courage, and complexity of women throughout history. The rediscovery of the steppe Amazons reshapes not only history books but cultural identities and collective memory. Their influence echoes in the modern world, a testament to the enduring spirit of resilience and defiance. The warrior women of the steppe stand as beacons of empowerment, bridging ancient courage with contemporary struggles. Their story invites ongoing exploration, reflection, and celebration of women's multifaceted roles across time. Through science and storytelling, their voices return, loud and clear, rewriting history with power and grace. They remind us that the past holds many surprises, waiting to be uncovered and understood anew. The steppe women's legacy continues to inspire, empowering new generations to break barriers and redefine strength. Their lives illuminate the rich tapestry of human history, full of complexity, diversity, and unyielding spirit. As research advances, their stories grow richer, deepening our appreciation for their place in history. This rediscovery honors their memory and ensures their impact will never fade from human consciousness.